Hi, and welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. I'm Kimberly Zeidner, and I'm joined by Seth Shore from Herring Realty Associates. He's an appraiser, and he's going to talk to us today about what an appraisal is and different ways that if you're thinking of selling your home, you can make it more sellable.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here today. Happy to be here. A lot of people think of an appraisal as just a completely mortgage-related thing, and that's the most common type of appraisal, but that's only one type of appraisal.
Right.
And in that scenario, a lot of people then think that the mortgage appraisal is there to validate the deal. An appraiser is not there to make or break a deal. The appraiser works for the bank in that scenario, and the bank is trying to get business from the buyer. The mortgage appraiser is actually validating how much the bank will lend.
Right.
And so it's not about is this home priced correctly, it's how much should the bank lend. And that plays out differently in different scenarios depending on how much down payment there is, how time pressured the transaction is, what type of transaction it is, and how much down payment there is, and how much flexibility. But that mortgage appraisal is not, saying that yes or no, this is the correct sale price. It's what is the market value. Banks lend on market value, not based on sales price. Okay, so the difference between sales price and market value, if you think about it, sales price is one data point. So if you have 100 identical houses in a neighborhood that all go on the market at the same time, one of them sells for $300,000. All the rest of them sell for $325,000. Market value is what the typical buyer will pay and the typical seller is willing to let it go for, with no outside market pressures. So it's not like a distressed sale, and both have good realtors so that somebody's not getting snowballed, and it's just a normal transaction that had market exposure. So that one data point is maybe the contract is for 300, but everybody else would pay 325. Market value is what the typical buyer would pay, not what the contract price is.
Right.
The banks lend on that market value, and if you look at any appraisal, that definition of market value will be right there in the appraisal. So that is the main objective in a mortgage situation, which is the most common interaction people have with appraisers. Other types of appraisers are pre-listing, give you kind of the most likely price you would get. Estate sales need a date of death. We're doing some of those right now. And then you can, for any other purpose that you need. And appraisers really do the job kind of in two parts. So part of the time I'm dressed like this. I'm in field gear. I'm dressed like I could go fishing right now, and that's on purpose because in Florida it gets hot, and if you want an accurate measurement, you're getting in the bushes, right? If your appraiser shows up and they got a suit on or they got high heels,
they're not doing much.
That house is not getting measured,
right?
Because everybody's got all these bushes and everything. You got to tromp through some bushes and dodge some dog bombs and and get use your laser or your measurer and get out and measure that thing, because the county records are iffy.
Right.
They're for tax purposes. They're not for true valuation purposes. Sometimes they'll get the first floor right because they have to do the foundation inspection. They'll actually send somebody out and measure it.
Right.
Second floor is mostly a guess. So if you have a second floor in your property, always get it measured before you put it on the market. Always, always, always. So half of it is being on site. I think a lot of the value that we provide is, what we see, what we hear, what we smell. We can tell the quality of the construction a lot better up front. I can check serial numbers and see, they said they replaced the air conditioner. Did they? We can check. We can check that.
Right.
Was it actually done well, or did somebody, spray paint on some, throw on some shiny paint and take a nice picture of it. So half the time I'm dressed like this, half the time I'm in my PJs at the computer, crunching numbers, writing reports, trying to tell the story of the property, really looking at each individual aspect of the deal from top to bottom, taking a little bit of time with it. And you want to take a little time. You don't want to just punch through these because they're important and they have effects on people.
They make or break deals.
They make or break deals. Yeah. So we don't set out to do that, but a lot of times that's what it comes down to.
So let's talk about something. You had mentioned it earlier about the pre-listing appointment. And so I know that as a realtor, we go in and we do sometimes stress to sellers that they should go ahead and get an appraisal done in advance to really know the value of the property. Sometimes comps don't always tell the true story.
Right.
So do you find value in coming out and doing stuff like that, and more often than not, the value that you give is what the bank gives?
Yes, and one of the things that we'll do, a couple of the benefits to pre-listing inspections, one is that it sets kind of a realistic number. No two appraisers are going to go about it exactly the same way.
Right.
But you've at least got kind of a baseline. If you've got a good pre-listing, you've got a baseline. You know kind of how your house rates in the market as of that date. You've kind of got some backup. You've got some comps. You've got kind of the story of the house. You kind of understand it so that if another appraiser comes in significantly lower, you've already got the ability to say, hey, can you check out a couple of these houses? Mm-hmm. Because this is what we base the pricing on. Not these ones over, a mile away. Like, here's these ones in the backyard.
Right.
Take a look at these and let's check that out. The reconsideration of value is what the official term for it.
Okay.
But it kind of sets you up, and then you also have that in your back pocket as a negotiating tool. Mm-hmm. I would advise, I think it's okay to tell people that you've had the house appraised and you're doing the pricing based on the appraisal. Mm-hmm. You don't have to tell people or what that appraisal is or even show it.
Right.
That could be kind of the last thing, kind of keep that in your back pocket to where if somebody is like adamant that they won't pay above a certain amount, we're like, hey, listen, I promise you, we're not trying to like pull something on you.
Gouge anyone.
We had it appraised. We just want fair price for this. Mm-hmm. And then you but that should be kind of your last thing. But yeah, that really helps.
Yeah.
Good realtor can probably do like most houses, especially if they're in tract neighborhoods or there's similar models nearby. Mm-hmm. Good realtors can nail it a good part of the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna tell you you have to get one every time, but if you have a unique property, or if you have a difficult seller, or if the realtor and the seller just can't agree on what to do with it,
bring in an appraiser.
Bring in a third party. That's where that's very useful.
Okay, so really let's talk about new construction.
Okay.
We kind of discussed this a little bit off camera. Yeah. Sometimes we have it where the appraisal is coming in lower than what the sales price is. Mm-hmm. And that becomes a challenge now renegotiating. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Okay, cool. So there's a couple of things that are going on with new construction. One is that they are pricing this for what they think the market will be in the future. Mm-hmm. Typical new house construction we're seeing, takes 6 to 8 months around here. Luxury construction, you're talking 18 to 24 months. So in true luxury. So they are pricing it today for what they think the market will be in the future.
Right.
So part of their guess is not based on anything other than what they think the future value will be. Mm-hmm. When we do an appraisal of proposed construction, it's as it is today.
Okay.
So if you say I'm gonna close on this house 8 months from now, it may not appraise today. Mm-hmm. Because they have priced it. They don't get paid until the job is done. Right. They're basing their price on 8 months from now. Mm-hmm. The as is appraisal is as of today. Mm-hmm. So we do it with the as if with a hypothetical condition that the house is built and completed as of today. Mm-hmm. There's one of the issues that you have. The other issue is that builders are in it to make money, of course. They're constantly pushing the price a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's completely fine. That's part of how real estate moves, is people push the price as much as they can, right? So they're always pushing it up a little bit. Part of how they do their pricing and they push the price is they really make their money when they can build the same house. If they can just build the same house all at the same time, that's when they're most profitable. If you look at some of the new short-term rental communities like Solera and places like that, you'll see whole blocks go up at the exact same time. Yeah. It's not true custom construction.
Right.
It is a known quantity. It's like the same thing. And that's where they're truly profitable. That is the ideal situation for a builder. When you have options, it doesn't mean that that is actually adding value or better. It means that it is different from the base plan.
Correct.
And not as efficient or profitable for the builder. So they charge for a deviation from the base plan. So at that point, a lot of the options are not based on market value, but they're based on a cost deviation from the base model. So if you get all the options and all the upgrades, it will raise the price a whole bunch, but a lot of those things don't always come back in market value. The market value is based on, again, we talked about market value being, having market exposure and typically motivated buyers and sellers. If you're building a custom house, you're not a typically motivated buyer. Right? You're paying a premium to have everything the way you want it, exactly the way you want it. And there's a premium inherent in that. When you put it on the market, the market may not have the same taste. And so when you put it on the market, you may not get all of that back. We see like 50 to 60% sometimes of upgrades immediately. Like if you build a custom home and then turn around and put it on the market, you would not get all of the cost that you put into it for the upgrades on top of that. So that comes into a cost versus value type situation. New home construction is a cost, and then the market value is the value. So that's where that sometimes happens. So builders have to be careful that they're not, putting so much into it that it's not going to come back. And we can include brand new houses if they are spec homes. And that's how builders can help themselves. That's why they build spec homes. So they have a baseline market value of the property and say, look, we built this thing without anybody else asking us to. We threw it on the market, we got $350. And that really helps them out with that. Then you're basing it on that, because that's what we really have to look at when we look at market value. We take into account the sales, right? Because we don't go in with blinders, but that's not market value. The brand new custom construction is not truly market value. That's a cost. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that kind of clears it up for some people out there too. There's one more thing I want to discuss with you. What makes a bedroom? And I ask you this because I have many buyers that I'm showing homes to, and they will look at a room and go, well, this isn't a bedroom because there isn't a closet. What makes a bedroom? Let's clear it up for everybody.
All right, absolutely. Okay, so I answer this in two parts. First part, I'll answer your exact question of what makes a bedroom. Second part, I'll answer is kind of the inherent question in that is kind of what difference does it make? Because it does make a difference in some situations. And I think that, sometimes people get into the mindset of the more bedrooms, the more valuable. It's not always the case. So we'll kind of come back around to that. Okay, so technical definition of a bedroom for new construction in Florida, according to the Florida Building Code, is it needs two forms of egress, and it needs to have a closet, and it needs to be more than 70 square feet.
New construction.
New construction.
Okay, what about resale?
There is no code.
So what does that mean? What that
means is that bedroom is what the market accepts it as. And in most situations, people have clothes. Right? There are a couple communities around here where you can get away without having a closet. But for most people, you would really need you gotta put your clothes somewhere. But that's an easy cost to cure. Right? Because you got you can go to IKEA for I think I priced it out last time, $150. You can recreate a wardrobe.
Awesome.
You can have a place to hang a whole bunch of clothes, and then a stack of shelving to put some stuff in. So
now let's talk about that for a second. And again, we kind of discussed this earlier. So you have a room that is smaller, maybe a house that's even smaller and has less living space, and now this room has tons of shelving and built-ins into it. What is going to happen in that case?
That's probably your highest and best use of that is probably going to be an office, right? And that kind of goes into a good segue into the next part of it, which is what does it matter? Which is everybody's like, oh, I got to get 6 bedrooms, but unless you have 5 kids, like how many times are like all the bedrooms used as bedrooms?
Right.
You got like an office, you got a junk room, you got a craft room. Some people put dogs in rooms, right?
Yeah.
So like not every bedroom is used as a bedroom. So you want to think in terms of the utility of it. We don't usually make adjustments purely based on bedroom count, unless it is a short-term rental
where
community.
The number of rooms makes difference.
Right, where it's basically a business, and like it's like a hotel. Like the more rooms you got, the more money you can make.
Right.
Or when it's between like a 2 and a 1 bedroom, there's a huge difference there. So there is a definition, but it's really what the market wants. The market wants that you can live there comfortably. You got to have 2 forms of egress for safety. Now that is one thing that is in the code. Is 2 forms of egress for safety. That means the door can't go into the garage, door can't go into another room. You got to have a door and a window that get you either into a hallway or outside.
Okay.
We had an example recently where a home was having difficulty selling because they were listing it as a 4-bedroom. All the bedrooms were on the outside. The interior didn't have all of the natural light that it needed, so there wasn't a ton of living space. So these families were showing up that had like 3 kids. They needed all the bedrooms in that situation, and it just wasn't meeting the market expectations. So one of the things that we said was the market is a 3-bedroom because that 4th bedroom actually they put in these beautiful like cabinetry and like bookshelves and everything. I was like, you have an office.
Right.
This is beautiful. There's nothing like inherently better about more bedrooms versus like having like some flex space.
Right.
People want like a bonus room or an office or a flex space or something to like shut the kids out of or put the kids into, right? Like throw them in a media room.
Well, and
like
by remarketing it like that, now you're opening up to a whole new field of buyers that have smaller families and are looking for that extra space instead of people coming in with more kids and going, well, we can't utilize this room.
Right. It's really all about, I think sometimes things get oversold and that doesn't always help because you can tell people whatever you want, but they're going to show up and look at the house.
Yeah, right.
So you want to manage the expectations so that you're targeting your best customer, not necessarily every customer.
Right.
Not necessarily every buyer, but
your target market.
Yeah, who's going to pay the most for this house? Who wants this house the most? Who's the most likely buyer?
Right.
And so sometimes you want to kind of pull back on that a little bit. And if you got flex space or open space, that's a big deal. It doesn't space doesn't have to have like a design purpose to have value.
Right.
And when it comes to like the bedroom count, we talked about some of the luxury communities now, bedroom counts are shrinking and the values of the homes are going up. So it's not, and then the American family is as a whole getting smaller, statistically smaller. The demand for bigger and bigger houses only shows up when you are in short-term rental markets, where like people will bring like the entire block down from New York to go on vacation, and it's cheaper than staying in a Disney hotel, and you got a pool in the back and a kitchen and all kinds of great stuff. But yeah, it's more about utility. Like people, will advertise. We just did a house that was over 5,000 square feet. That's 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
That house is not worth less because it's got 4 bedrooms.
Right.
It was beautiful. I mean, it's got all this open space. The bedrooms are huge. Every bedroom's en suite. They were actually like adding in like some other elements to the property.
Right.
But yeah, like if you just look at the bedroom count, that doesn't encapsulate what that house is all about. That house is about the living space, and they got like beautiful living space and all kinds of stuff. So I think sometimes people get too wrapped up in bedroom count.
Agreed.
It just I see the arguments online and it's like, to what point? Okay, yeah, so you do have 5 versus 4. You okay?
Right.
Like, great.
Right.
Congratulations.
I'm there with you. I agree.
It's all about the luxury. You think about like, if you have so you have 2 bedrooms in a home, and you advertise it as a 5-bedroom. And a family actually needs all those bedrooms.
Right.
And they're thinking about all their teenagers trying to use the bathrooms at the same time. You've actually made your house less luxurious by claiming that you have a 5th bedroom because now you've got 4 teenagers vying for 1 bathroom because guess what? Mom and dad have the master.
Right.
As opposed to 2 or 3, which is much more doable. So it's not always, jacking that that bedroom count up is not always the most marketable thing to do.
Yeah, agreed.
It's not,
Well, listen, we talked about a lot today. We kind of ran the gamut with everything. So if you didn't understand what an appraisal was before, or how the process worked, or anything about any of this, you kind of get it now. But if you do have any questions, please reach out to us at any time. We'd be happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed your
so much.
sangria.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.